instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod.
Well, here we go. Welcome back to the first episode of Flagstick Podcast for the new 2024 year. Excited to be here. Sponsored this week by Golf PEI. Golf Prince Edward Island is a premier Canadian golf destination, boasting the most golf courses per capita in the country. With over 400 fairways closer than you imagine, top-tiered accommodation, and exquisite culinary experience, it is the easiest golf vacation you will ever book. Book the golf vacations and tee times at golfpei.ca. Before Scott and I jump into a much anticipated discussions, we want to remind you to follow us across all the social media networks. You know the usual ones: Instagram, X, Facebook. Subscribe to us on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. And we really obviously encourage you to continue to subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Like us, click the notification bell, make sure you never miss a single episode. We will be continuing to do some cool contests on there, and we're posting a whole lot of cool stuff on YouTube right now. So get on over there and subscribe.
More to come.
Yes, always more to come. Well, here we are, my friend. It's 2024. We took a little bit of a break. We needed it. Recharge the batteries. Prep the outstanding content. And get after it.
Is that it? It's like
get after it.
January is so deep, and we're going to get into it later in the show and where we get to with things. But obviously, a lot of product introductions. all the tours get back started, so the companies are starting to bring out their products. So apologies to people. I mean, if you're not all equipment geeks, as far as the content,
you're gonna get inundated because it's happening.
Yeah, it is happening nonstop, and 2 minutes before I got on this, I got more press releases, and I've got a calendar with embargoes, and there's so many more introductions coming even next week and stuff like that. So the cool part is, though, lots of people asking questions about equipment. So if you do have those questions, please pass them on. Ask Flagstick. We've started that segment again. If you've got questions about some of the latest and greatest new equipment, I've been testing a lot of this stuff for a couple of months, so got some insight and stuff like that. So if you have any questions, please pass them on and we can address that. But we'll get to more here as we get towards the back nine. But,
and of course,
what else?
And of course, this is when, around about the time that you would be starting to make the trek down to Orlando for the PGA Merchandise Show. And in all honesty, as nice as it is to go down there, because it's 22 below out right now with a wind chill of minus 26 where I am.
Not that warm down there, though. It hasn't been that warm. They were in Tukes practice round.
But it's sunny.
But I guess. Yeah.
And but to have this much stuff coming across your desk and through your email, and having to write all this stuff and keep the website updated, it's almost easier to manage PGA Tour PGA Tour Show Week from here than it is to be down there. I mean, it's nice to be down there and be amongst the crowd and do the gigs and so on and be at the show. But reality is to manage the production of getting stuff out to people, the content out to people. It's almost easier to do it, sitting here doing it rather than being down there.
Yeah, it's nice to be there for specific events. Cabot Citrus Farms has got a debut of their golf course there. PGA of Canada night. Seeing lots of different colleagues and stuff like that. But as you said, it gets really complicated when you get down there because you're starting meetings and things at the show, which a lot of them are just kind of get together because products are already really out in a lot of cases. So you're not really trying to find out new products when you get down there. They don't debut like they used to down there. But some
pulling your hair out.
Yeah, some of those meetings used to start at 7 in the morning. And I'll give it a specific example. I don't know if you can remember this week or whatever, a few years back, and I've been to 27 of these boondoggles. But you start 7 o'clock in the morning, you're having some meetings before the show floor opens, maybe it's a breakfast or whatever, you get onto the show floor doing stuff to say 5, got a couple of different receptions you go out to dinner. And then I can remember the one year specifically, I was doing a vlog every single day, and it was back to the hotel room with crappy Wi-Fi, edit it, run through all your photos, run through all your videos. So to do it in time, like kind of live, is really, really difficult because you weren't getting to bed till like 2 o'clock in the morning. Back up, do it again, all over again. And hey, I'm not complaining. It's a fun time for anybody who's never been to the PGA merchandise show. But I will say, there's less emphasis on it than there has been in the past.
Yeah,
There
definitely.
are a number of big manufacturers that don't go. There's a number of people that just they'll go for one day. They'll go down to the show in one day, and that's about it. Yeah, that coffee's valuable today. So yeah, it's not kind of what it once was. I'm sure I will return to it at some point. I enjoy some of the education seminars, just seeing face to face, seeing people and stuff like that. But yeah, not this year. I'm gonna take a pass this year, and just lots of other stuff going on.
Hard pass.
Hard pass, exactly.
Hard pass. Okay, Scott.
What else we got going on?
Well, this is the deal. On the front end, we're going to catch up on some of the latest news topics, including our tour updates as they start the 2024 season, and some new indoor golf locations.
Yep, I'm going to come back here.
Yeah, it's all right. You know what? We're more of an audio deal than a video deal most times anyway. So the fact that your name comes across the screen, at least people know who you are. And on the back there, we're going to take a look at some of the many new golf equipment introductions that came in, last week. Obviously, on
a few weeks now, yeah.
On the fact that the PGA Merchandise Show is happening.
Yeah, and it's not really even tied to the show now. It's really
not anymore.
It's really tied to the tour. The fact that all these players are making use of new equipment, and manufacturers obviously have to officially kind of reveal them. They got to put them on the USGA conforming lists. They're going to be out in the wild, so people are going to get pictures anyways. So yeah, so they've got to get them out there, and really during the show week, yes, I will say there will be some more intros next week, but maybe not as significant as people think.
So that's it. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to talk about. So let's get at it. Let's get to the front nine, presented by our good friends at Metcalf Golf Club. A natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Well, golf season is closer than you think, really. So don't wait to start preparing for the upcoming golf season. Buy your memberships, join a league, purchase some of the game packs, and be ready to hit the first tee in the spring. Visit metcalfgolf.com to shop for those now.
Yeah, spring is actually only about 60 days away.
I think winter just kind of started, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
It's kind of nuts, man. It's just
not
so crazy.
Which is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
Now, let's get to some tour news. Obviously, the Century.
Let's just rip through it.
The first event on the PGA Tour. Adam Hadwin was the top Canadian in the Century that just passed with the T14, earned just over $320,000. Now the thing is with Adam Hadwin sort of sat back and didn't sit back, but he kind of had to watch other Canadians have a significant amount of success last season.
Yeah.
And I know how badly he wants to be part of that President's Cup team. And not playing as well last year or watching other Canadians do better, even though I'm sure he's cheering them all on. Obviously, we watched him get tackled at the RBC Canadian Open. So we know he's excited for his fellow Canadians, but I know he wants to be in that spotlight himself too, so that he can make that President's Cup team, because obviously this is a big President's Cup year.
Yeah. So, I mean, the big thing with that, I mean, the PGA Tour now is back to a regular schedule. There's no wraparound anymore. So it is within the calendar year. Makes a little bit more sense now, although it is a little bit more condensed. So it creates a little bit more issues as far as players trying to keep their status and whatever. And we'll just again, the Century was followed up by the Sony Open. Two of the Canadians in the top 10 there, three in the top 20. Nick Taylor was the top at T7, but heading into the American Express this week, we're through round one already, and Adam Hadwin is the top Canadian right now. He's in the top 15 after round one. So yeah, you're right. I mean, watching four other Canadians win last year, having been a winner on the tour before, and you're right, it's a big target for a lot of these people. They want to be on that team come September in Montreal. I mean, it's a big point of pride to get on those teams, and they don't want to have to wait for a pick. They don't want to have to wait for Mike Weir to pick them, out. They want to make that team and guarantee that they're going to be on it, and not only represent their country, but represent their country in their own borders. And we'll have a lot of coverage related to that coming up. I know I'm going to catch up with Ryan Hart, the executive director, sometime soon here, and we'll have an interview probably on the podcast. So, but good start for the Canadians. Ben Silverman's out there as well. Came off the Corn Ferry Tour, and he was T18 at the Sony Open, so he's been playing well. And it's fun to see. Minimum 5 at least every week in there. Once Hughes and Connors obviously played at the Century, but and Connors played at the Sony. But yeah, it'll be fun to follow them all year long. Unfortunately for Mackenzie Hughes, after he played in the Century and went home, his car got stolen. So I don't know if you saw that on social media, but yeah, just unfortunate for that. But yeah, a good start for the men on the PGA Tour. And it's going to be fun to watch this year on the Canadians.
Now, Brooke Henderson makes her 2024 debut this week at the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions.
Yeah.
New woods, new putter.
Yeah.
New season.
Yeah. So played pretty well first round. Has a finger that's sort of taped up, and that we'll get into that a little bit. But she looked pretty good. She had a little shaky early on, but was rolling the rock pretty well. Strokes gained was pretty good. This is a smaller field event, only 36 players this week, but she did win it last year, and she's looking to start the year with a win, and she seems to be enjoying it. 4 back after the first round, and looks like your game's in decent shape. Unfortunately, thoughts are with her grandmother Marlene, who's not doing too well these days, and I know that Brooke was back home to see her, and hopefully she regains some strength a little bit and perseveres, because she's a beautiful lady, really neat lady, and I'd love to see her when she was out at events. So our thoughts are with her, and hopefully Brooke uses the inspiration of her grandmother to help her out this week.
Yes, definitely would be good to see her have Brooke have a decent decent season. My God.
She's still
the 12th to 13th in the world. I mean, it's not like she fell off the face of the earth last year, but I know the expectations are high. She has higher expectations for herself than what she achieved last year. Mm-hmm. And I think we all know that she can be better and win more, and be in contention more often. So she'll get there. She's too good a golfer not to.
She dropped in a number of statistical categories last year, but I mean, again, it's relative to what you're talking about. Somebody mentioned to me, it's the clubs. Well, guess what? In golf, you don't play defense. So sometimes those statistical categories, when you look at them, if you're ranked 7th or whatever, it just could mean the other player is doing something better. It doesn't mean you're playing worse. Now, if we looked at her strokes gained and stuff, up and down in certain particular areas, but hey, welcome to golf, right? So it's pretty hard to maintain the consistent level that she has for now her 10th year on the LPGA Tour. She's got 13 wins. She's heading towards an amazing career, and as you said, she's got the talent to kind of work her way back. But we're definitely going to see the start this year. Hopefully she has a good positive start, and that bodes well for the rest of the season.
So a bunch of Canadians in the field at on the Corn Ferry Tour as it's getting started got started this past Sunday with the
in the Bahamas.
In the Bahamas. And it's really good to see this, because this is the next level, right?
Yeah.
These are the ones that are trying to get to the PGA Tour, and could be, if some of these players have good seasons on the Corn Ferry Tour, we could be looking at even more Canadians on the PGA Tour in 2025.
Yeah, that's the expectation, really. I mean, Corn Ferry Tour starts with 2 events back to back in the Bahamas. They had a different timeline as far as when they started their event. They compressed these 2 events, so they're getting ready to start the second one. But Miles Creighton and Etienne Papineau made the cut at the last week. Etienne, that's his first start out on the Corn Ferry Tour, and so that was good to him. Good to see him, make that first cut. He was pretty proud of that for sure. Miles Creighton was T25 in that, and Yi Sao, who's actually lives in Delta, BC, but he plays under the Chinese flag, but I always include him as the Canadian. He's been in Canada since I think he was 15. He made the cut there as well. But good young players to follow. Will Bateman's back on the tour there, and a new face there is Sudarshan Yelamaraju, who got through at the Q school. It'd be fun to watch the lefty from Mississauga, how he plays. So and the LPGA after this week, and is going to they'll have their first full field event next week, so we could see as many as 5 players in the field next week for the LPGA. So the good stuff on the professional level. A little while now before PGA Tour America starts in March, and we'll have a lot to cover about that. But lots of good play going on. So.
I know it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Switching gears a little bit from tour golf to amateur golf, and
Sure.
and Lansdowne's Carly Mayer won an AJGA event in Bermuda.
Yeah, she did. So,
and you had a chance to share some messaging with her.
Yeah,
I guess following the event.
Yeah, know Carly fairly well. See her obviously on the range at Smugglers, get to do some occasional help with her on some things with some TrackMan stuff and so forth. But she shot even par in a very windy AJGA Butterfield Bermuda Championship. Had the help of one of her friends there who's 15. Oliver, I'm trying to think, Bishar is his last name, who played in the PGA Tour event last fall at the age of 15, who actually qualified through the 54 local qualifier. But he's the club champion there at Port Royal. So he really helped her out in picking targets and so forth. That's a big win. That's her first AJGA win for her.
Yeah.
And her first, as she said, it was her first win away, basically, out of the US, Canada. So that's big for her. She's a next gen Team Canada player. If you want some more details and some quotes and stuff from that, you can check it out on flagstick.com. And then Anne-Sophie Burgot, who continues to play well, who won 3 titles in Quebec last year, has won a couple events already this year on the South Florida Tour. She actually tied for second. She was 3 back of Carly, and she's from Gatineau. She plays out of the Royal Ottawa Golf Club. So nice to see that, not only Canadian juniors doing well, but ones from our normal coverage region as far as Eastern Ontario and Western Quebec.
Beautiful. Now listen, this wouldn't be a golf show podcast program if there wasn't the ability for us to pick a topic and speculate.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
Is this not what we thrive for? There's a piece of news out there. Something's happening. Nobody really knows what the outcome or the result, or
somebody knows.
Somebody knows. But what we get to do in the media is a thing that we love to do. Now, the difference between us and some other media is we speculate, but we don't generate false facts.
Correct.
to mess people up. But we speculate. So obviously, for quite some time now, there's been discussion about Tiger and Nike ending their relationship after 27 years.
Yeah, their contract, his 10-year last contract was up.
So. But nobody knows
where he's going.
What's going on? Like, what's the deal? So we get to speculate as to what's going on. And there's a number of different things that people are speculating on what's happening. So what would be your speculation, Scott, as to your thoughts as to what exactly has Tiger got going on in that brain of his to move on from Nike? Because that's a big deal. I mean, obviously, I'm sure that they would have renewed his contract and it would have been a significant amount of money, but they're not, and this is where we're at.
No, the thing is that people have to understand is if you look at Nike corporate and, I dig through the sales call or the calls with investors and so forth and the forecasts and have a look at that on a fairly, regular basis. Nike, although they're doing, great dollars right now, they're fighting for some market share in things like running and all sorts of different things. While they are, a $50 billion sales, revenue company, they are in the middle of a $2 billion. I won't call it a cutback but more or less kind of, repurposing things within their company. And part of that is realizing, from a golf perspective, their Jordan brand within the golf is really what sells a lot. The
Yeah.
Jordan brand itself is now a $5 billion company within Nike. And if you look at the golf perspective, I mean, a lot of the golf stuff that they're selling is under the Jordan side of things. So for what it would cost them, they realized, from a revenue standpoint, maybe it's kind of not quite there. I mean, I did a survey on our Instagram and, asked people if they had bought a Tiger Woods, item, from Nike over the years, and it was less than 50% of people that said they had ever bought one. Now, here's the thing. Tiger owns his own trademark. He owns his logo that he has. That's his. That's not Nike's or whatever. So he can take that anywhere as he wants. Now, he does obviously have corporate relationships already, and his biggest partner in the equipment world is TaylorMade. And we know, based on digging through certain things, that TaylorMade does a lot of business in. They're owned by a Korean equity company. They do a lot of business in the apparel market in Korea. If you go and look through the product, they're a premium luxury product over there. They have some small items in North America. You've seen their T-shirts and all different things, but they're trying to grow that. They realize that's a growing thing for them. So the natural thing for me would be a licensing deal between Tiger and TaylorMade, where Tiger is obviously licensing his logo with them. They create a partnership. They do something kind of within that brand. Some of the other speculation stuff I saw, obviously was interesting. We saw people talking about, you know, we saw them digging up year-old video of Tiger walking with there's a Travis Matthews logo, which is an old logo. People have to understand Travis Matthews is owned by Callaway, so that's not happening as far as that's concerned. People think that even a deal with a company like Grayson, while possible, Grayson's a really small company. The owner from Grayson used to work for Polo Ralph Lauren. Doesn't make sense to partner up with a small company. I don't know about that, because the thing is that, Tiger and his team, and we look at their agents and everybody that's involved in it, it's a big machine and they're looking at big revenue. So for them to sit there and go with a super small brand and try to grow it out, I don't know if it'd be all that successful. Whereas if you already have a structure that's in place with a large company and you kind of go within that, kind of be the face of that brand that you're already affiliated with, I can see that making more sense. You're going to probably get a little bit more money up front than you would from waiting on the back end of an equity piece from a small company. So my thoughts at this point is when he shows back up, at Riviera, and we have seen TaylorMade advertising for staff and people within, and it actually says the terms are, new apparel company and that sort of things. They're hiring more staff and creating more structure for apparel in North America. So I can clearly see, my speculation is kind of that's where they're heading, and it seems to make sense.
Well,
whether it is or not.
You would think. I mean, again, it's all, at this point, it's all speculation. But you would think that in order to make something like what if it's a clothing line, a Tiger Woods clothing line, apparel line that they're looking at, and he's looking at getting into, you would think that it makes most sense to partner with a company that already has the infrastructure in place. That just makes sense, because otherwise you're building it all. You're building a sales team, you're building a distribution network, you're building a warehousing, you're expanding an existing warehousing operation if you're starting with a smaller company, knowing that it's probably going to get bigger quick. Whereas if you're starting with some company like TaylorMade, then obviously you've got the infrastructure in place. You just have to add to it. You don't have to expand. As far as the manufacturing and the warehousing and things like that, you might have to expand your sales force, but but you already have everything else in place. So
and you're already going to be included. You're already the face of their marketing. So I mean that's a really easy blend in there to put that in there. So yeah, it makes sense to me.
All right, there you go. That's our speculation component of our front nine today is what's going on with Tiger Woods and clothing. So the other thing we got going on right now is if you go to flagstick.com, you'll find that much what we do at the beginning of the golf season where we talk about the course opening calendar.
Yeah.
We're not there yet, but we do have in its place right now is our indoor golf directory that we created, something new this year. And we're constantly adding to it and updating it. And I think you wanted to push a few, just while we got a couple minutes here, just push a few details on some new additions that we have coming to that directory.
Yeah, Highlands is going to be added to that. The Highlands Golf Club, they're running some simulators now. And again, if anybody has other additions that we don't have on there, you have to understand we did run an indoor golf directory in the past, and then we brought it back this year, but we really had to dive deep because there's so many new locations kind of all over the place. And then we've got there's a couple more places that are looking to open the next while. I mean, we're already deep into that indoor season. There's probably only about 90 days left of the hard part of that indoor season. But I know for sure there's one, and I'm not going to mention the name of it or anything yet, because obviously it's got to get open first, because you never know. There's all sorts of things that will happen related to that.
100%.
But I know there's going to be another one down in the Kingston Quinte area that is going to probably open. But like I said, Highlands will get added to that list, and there's 50 plus locations that are there. And just a reminder for all those people, if you're looking for details and looking for where all these indoor places are, this is a one-stop shop. You just go to the website, and as you said, all the details are right there, easy to find. Instead of just searching around all over the place, you just hit up our directory, and you'll be all set.
Yeah, it's kind of it took me a while to figure out exactly how to build it.
Yeah.
But it's a cool little directory that's been created there. It's completely sortable and searchable. So if you're looking for something in Ottawa, you simply type in Ottawa, and it sorts the whole directory by facilities in Ottawa. If you're looking for simulators, you can search by that. You're looking for a specific one, you can search by that, and you can click directly on the facility to visit their website and to book your times and get in more information and stuff. So it took me a while, but I did figure out how to do it. So
yeah, and shout out to the a couple of the facilities that actually reached out and thanked us for doing that directory. Haven't heard from as many as I thought, considering how much traffic that gets. But anyways, it's the consumers are loving it. Our readers, our community are loving it. So that's the important thing.
Exactly. Okay. We gotta wrap up the front nine here quickly, but just a little bit of regional industry news to go over. Currently, Rockland Golf Club is looking for a pro shop manager.
Yep.
Greensmere is looking for an assistant professional.
They are.
Le Sorcier is looking for a superintendent. So reach out to them if you're interested or know somebody. A couple other things. Stephen Venema has moved from Lockmarch to Rivermead as the assistant pro. Renfrew Golf Club has hired Noah Matthews as an apprentice professional.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff going on here, I tell you.
Oh, there's lots more to come.
Fergus Barron has joined the team at Carlton Golf and Yacht Club.
Yeah, so, that's part of their professional team there, and I know Tyler Fitzgerald's been really happy. He said, I think he had a post there where Fergus, started there, and I believe Fergus is from England, and I think he redid the whole pro shop within like the first 2 days while he was there. So merchandising wise, so say hi to Fergus if you happen to be at Carlton. But lots more to come there. Certainly seeing a lot of postings right now, not only in the pro ranks but on the turf side of things as well, and we'll certainly see that even from the management side of it as far as staff there.
We'll keep you updated. That's what we do. Now, two other things. There's 2 Golf Canada Championships in the Eastern Ontario region in 2024. The first being the Canadian Men's Mid-Amateur is being held at the Carlton Golf and Yacht Club.
Yep.
August 20th to 23rd. So that should be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And the Canadian All Abilities Championship is being hosted by Timber Ridge
Yeah,
in September 10th to the 12th. So,
down in Brighton.
yeah, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it's nice to see those championships added. I hadn't heard much about the as far as the all abilities that was sort of quietly added to the schedule there. I know that's actually a big one for a number of people that are from this region that participate in it. Tommy Martineau, Curtis Barkley. I'm trying to think who else is in there. There's a couple different people that are from the different from Eastern Ontario, so that makes it a little bit easier for them to get to that championship. And that course has done a lot of renovations in the last little bit. They've redid all their bunkering, and I know Nolan Walsh is doing a great job there as the head professional now, and certainly want to get back there soon and have a look.
All right. That about does it for the front nine.
Yeah.
We covered a lot of stuff, and we still have a lot of stuff to cover. So we're going to get out, take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get talking about the overall buzz on new equipment, prices, all that kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff to go over,
Yep.
and it's not even a tip of the iceberg as to what we're going to be covering over the next few episodes of the Flagstick podcast. So we don't want you to go anywhere. We want you to hang around. We're just going to take a quick break. It's not a very long one. So stay there. You're listening and watching the Flagstick podcast with Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod. Don't go away.
When you golf on Prince Edward Island, there are over 400 fairways closer than you can imagine. Not to mention countless miles of pristine beaches and a rich world-class culinary experience. So get here fast, then take it slow and play around on Island Time. Golf Prince Edward Island.
All right, welcome back to the Flagstick podcast. I am Jeff Botter. This guy is Scott McLeod. And as I was saying to Scott as we're coming back, I said, let's back nine this,
and effort.
and they said, no, this isn't Sirius XM radio. I don't think we can pull off what I was about to say.
Sure, we could.
Yeah. Well, let's get into our back nine, presented this week by Celtic Golf Center. Located only 20 minutes from Ottawa and Kemptville, Celtic Golf Center is indoor golf on another level, featuring 5 state-of-the-art TrackMan simulators and 2 new Unicore sims with GS Pro. Celtic Golf Center can offer over 10,000 golf course options, including many major courses with some island greens and beautiful azaleas, if you catch my drift. Play rounds with friends, practice with full swing analysis, or play golf games. Visit Celtic Golf Center .ca to learn more or to book tee times.
Played any indoor golf yet this year, Jeff? I know you haven't had any time, so
not a bit.
No, Brandon hasn't been bugging you.
Not yet. No, well, Brandon's just recently been cleared.
Oh yes,
to
focused on skating now.
Yes, I think that's the focus, but I'm sure that
as we get nearer the golf season.
Yeah, I think golf is gonna happen. Golf is gonna happen. All right. Now we said we were talking sort of before we even got the show going, we were talking about the PGA Merchandise show. We were talking about new equipment and all that kind of stuff. And I guess that's sort of what we said, as we got into the back nine, we were going to get into discussion. Now we got like a long list of club products and stuff that we could talk about. We're not going to go through this like a shopping list or a laundry list of equipment. We just want to kind of talk about some different things, some different equipment, some stuff that maybe people have been interested to hearing about. What's the overall buzz? Are prices up? The introduction of mid-level golf balls, because, and I think I want to start there.
Yeah, and
I know our list might not start there, but
I'm deep in this, like nonstop every single day. And what I want to hear is your perception of what you've been hearing more on the periphery as you're busy with hockey and stuff, but you're keeping your eye on obviously what's happening in the golf industry or whatever. But yeah, you rip it up wherever you want to start, and I'll throw in some commentary.
Okay, so I want to start by clearing my throat. That's where I'm going to start.
Sure.
Me. Okay. So mid-level golf balls. Now, this is an area that I think is really important because you have, and I've seen it, and I don't have a problem with it per se, but players that are not, anybody can play any golf ball they want, really. I mean, if you're a 40 handicap and you want to play the highest end golf ball that exists, it's totally your prerogative. Reality is you probably don't need that high end golf ball. You probably could spend less, but
whether it fits you or not. But I mean, that's
exactly.
that's a whole other subject.
If you got $70 you want to drop on a dozen golf balls, then hey,
sure,
go for it. You probably spend too much money on your golf clubs too, but that's not the point. So what I'm liking to see is this more of a mid-level golf ball, something that has characteristics of the high-end ball and characteristics of I'm not going to call it the low-end ball, but the lower-end ball.
Yeah,
and it kind of
the best of both worlds.
Get that tweeny, and seeing that the companies are introducing these more mid-priced, mid-level balls. I like that. That's something that, aside from new equipment, new technology, I think it's addressing a need in the golf market that is probably more important than another golf club that can hit the ball straighter or 10 yards farther. And I don't mean that in the sense that, don't buy the new golf club. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there's always something that comes out that is probably more important to the average golfer than another new golf club.
Yeah, I mean, obviously golf balls are, the major consumable that, most golfers are going to play with. People have to realize and understand, although people, are diehard golfers and they sort of, the diehard golfers that probably listen to this podcast, they live in a certain world where they're really focused on, the latest and the best and the whatever. But, that's not the reality of who's out there playing the game of golf. The reality is it's the everyday, maybe they play 10 games a year or whatever. They're not willing to invest, $7 or $8 a golf ball. That's not really the case. But that said, they don't also want to play something that, is not going to be helpful to them. They don't want to play, a bag of rocks.
No.
So what we're seeing is that while manufacturers have always had, mid-level golf balls, we're seeing manufacturers now start to blend more things into those products to make them more like, as you said, have more closer to the characteristics of the top ball, but not quite there, but keeping the price down and getting a focus on, some maybe distance or things like that. So, we saw it even, the last couple of years. I mean, TaylorMade, for an example, had the Response ball, which actually had a urethane cover on it. We're seeing things like Titleist in their Tour Soft. We're seeing those companies, Callaway, even, their Super Soft ball is obviously a super popular one, but they also realize that maybe they need to make some little tweaks to it to make it a little bit faster. So basically all these companies are adjusting, but they're also realizing that there's that massive market in the middle. And we're seeing, we've seen new balls in the last couple of weeks. We're going to see more. I will tell you that right now. I have actually looked at a couple different ones from some different manufacturers, and you might even see a surprising endorsement that comes out in the next week or so. But we are definitely seeing a little bit more attention to that kind of market, which I think is great for the average golfer that's out there, to know that they can go out there and maybe not spend quite as much because maybe they go through a lot of golf balls, but still get some performance out of it. And I'm actually interested even this year, while I test a lot of premium balls and see what they're like from a spin rate, feel standpoint. There's not as much compromise. There's still compromises for sure, there's not as much as there maybe has been in the past, to the point if I look at myself and if I said, I was a 12 handicap golfer and, was losing a bunch of golf balls and stuff like that. Yeah. You know what? I don't necessarily, have to dive into the top ball to get some performance characteristics or get something that I could play on a regular basis, which again is nice to see.
Now, as far as buzz goes,
Mm-hmm.
now we have a number of, we have a number of different companies that are marketing partners of ours and sponsors
Sure.
of this show, and we've always said that as much as we want to push those products more than other products, we're not going to do that. That's not how we operate. That's not our
Yep.
jam.
Yep.
But I will say this, of all of the products that have sort of, and there's been a lot of discussion, and I talked to a lot of people about different,
Mm-hmm.
different stuff coming out. But the question that I think the anticipation of TaylorMade's QI10 series
Mm-hmm.
has probably been, now maybe it's because of Tiger, Rory, maybe maybe that's got a lot more to do with it than
Definitely
the
some
fact.
early adoption on tour for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been asked a lot of questions about that,
Mm-hmm.
particularly the irons, which is interesting because I think because
Really?
I
Okay.
don't know if it's because there wasn't really a lot of imagery, um, and um, and anticipation of the irons as much as there
Right.
was the driver
Driver.
was more. I mean, the
Yeah.
driver is obviously a much more visible thing when you see someone early
Oh,
adopted
definitely.
on PGA Tour and they're
Yeah.
playing with it
Yeah.
before it's even released or anything like that. Maybe
Yeah.
that's why. But that sort of line, that series was probably the one product line that I got asked about the most
Hmm.
and had to sort of field as a lot more questions about.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I'm not quite as privy to a lot of that stuff immediately as
Yeah.
you are because it comes
Yeah.
across your desk before I ever, I don't really see much of the press
Yeah.
stuff before it comes. So I get asked the question. I'm like, what? I
Well, it's
So I
interesting on
have
the
to
eye.
dig. I have to dig a
Yeah.
little deeper than I normally
Yeah.
want to while I'm talking. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about that Google.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Scott, tell me a little bit
Scott,
more about this because
give me a
someone's asking
summary.
me and I don't want to seem
Yeah.
stupid right now.
Yeah,
Um,
that's interesting as far as the irons, because obviously the irons is for the QI10 is not a tour iron, it's more an everyday, golfer iron. But
mhm.
they had some quiet success with the stealth iron previously, again, and more for the average type player. And then they had that stealth HD model as well, which was really good as far as launching the golf ball and so forth. The QI10, they have a QI10 straight model, and then they also have an HL, which is more of a launching thing, but it still has the same look and so forth. What I would say about those irons is that they're really clean. If you look at them, because of the structure of them, they look like they're a better player iron, let's say, not a
Mhm.
not like a tour iron or whatever. But if somebody's a high handicap, they're going to get performance benefits out of it, but they're also going to not feel like they're a chop because they have this monster cavity or whatever that's in there. So yeah, I would say, the buzz, as you said, was there. And I think that was because of I won't call it just early leaks, but it was the demand from the tour and those players wanting to kind of put that driver in their bag, that all of a sudden it got a lot of early attention and sort of, kind of built things up. But yeah, a lot of buzz about that. The fairway wood in that, especially the tour model, is still a little bit of the unicorn with a massive weighting in the bottom of it.
Mhm.
I will say there's a greater, and this is what I wrote, if people look on flagstick.com and see it, there's a greater separation in the three driver models that we see now in the QI10. So from a fit perspective,
Mhm.
going from the LS to the standard or the core model, as I'll refer to it, to the max model, which is the one that obviously a lot of people, when they talk about 10K MOI, which is really just it's a figure to measure how much resistance to twisting there is vertically and horizontally. And that's where the 10K comes out. But there's a bigger separation in the three models. So what I would warn people is that really be careful about going and getting fitted, because just because you think you're a high speed player and you're hey, I should have the LS model, you'd be surprised. It's a really low spin model, and I've seen even tour level players that I've talked to that have had to go higher lofts if they go in the LS, and a larger portion maybe fit into that core model, but it performs really, really well. I mean, it is, I think a lot of people like the looks of it. There's more carbon in the crown now, so there's more coverage. Previously, the carbon in the crown was just over 70%. Now it's over 90%. So as a result of it, they changed the structure in the top, and you don't see there's not that visible ridge, so it's more of a single look on the top. Has a different kind of look to it. It's gloss, has the blue face, obviously, that you see. That they do have a designer series where you can catch other ones. So it's getting people definitely as far as from a looks perspective. And I would say in talking to a lot of retail people or whatever, it's definitely one that they're getting asked about a fair bit.
Yeah, no, I like from the standpoint of golf equipment, I like aesthetics a lot. When I'm trying to pick clubs that I like. So I like to, when I set them down, they need to look good. It's not, for me, it's not just about performance.
Yeah.
I think that with a lot of the equipment that's out there, especially when you're dealing with the higher, the top brand name stuff, I don't think that performance of any of them is really going to be an issue. I think it comes down to what performs, what do the numbers say for you?
Right, for
What
sure.
do you
Yeah.
like to look at because chances are you're going to find something you like to look at and you set it down. You're going to be able to, make the adjustments, whether it be to the shaft or if it's a driver, make the adjustments to the driver to have
Yeah.
it fit you a little bit better, even if it may not be the perfect one.
Yeah.
It might be
And I
close
mean,
enough.
yeah, and the golfer's not always able to get their full potential out of it anyways. I mean, you know what I mean? As far as we're not as consistent as we think we
Still
are
have
from
to
a
be able to
striking
swing these
standpoint.
things, whether they're
Yeah.
fit perfectly for you or not. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the
for
thing. But
sure.
I will say this, like, just as a general statement, this stuff is expensive, people.
It
And
is.
there's no doubt about that. And no manufacturing person that we talk to is gonna say, "Oh no, our stuff is cheaper than less expensive." No, 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 no. This
Yeah.
stuff is expensive. And just go to
Yeah.
any golf shop, any pro shop, and see it's expensive. So if you're gonna spend $1,500, $1,600 on a set of irons,
Yeah.
goodness sake, people, go get it fit properly. Don't
Yeah.
just walk into the store and say, "I want that
Yeah.
model
Yeah.
of that club," and you have one in a box and walk out with the box. Don't walk out with a box that's sealed up that you haven't even opened and hit. You got to hit the stuff. You got to get fit properly. You
Don't
got to
buy a
have them
mistake.
adjusted properly, and don't fall for oh, those ones fit you perfectly as they are. Baloney, BS, call BS. I don't
Yeah.
care if I'm pissing off, ticking off
No.
some retail outlet or pro shop somewhere. Very seldom does anything ever fit anybody right out of the box when it comes
No.
to golf equipment. So
It's very specific now. There's tons of different options, within them. Manufacturers know that, otherwise they wouldn't offer it, and you see that going through all the different things that way. So, more people are getting fitted than they previously had before. And you know what? Think of these as an investment. I mean, while the cost is there and the overall cost is high, just think of it as something that you're going to have for quite some time. I mean, a camera is expensive, a laptop's expensive. And I'm not saying, we wish they were, kind of more affordable. Everything, it would be nice if everything was more affordable, but also realize that, just changing for the sake of changing and feeling like you have to change every year, you're not obligated to buy it.
no,
Manufacturers know that as well. And they realize and understand, yeah, it's their job to keep making things better and better and to keep making more products. You don't necessarily have to buy them. Not everybody's on the same buying cycle. You know what I mean? So they're not going to stop making them, and it's not their fault.
yeah.
Right. So don't blame them. It's up to you to decide whether you see performance benefits or not, or if you want something different from what you have now. But if that's going to be the case, and you fall in love with a particular trait or characteristic, or whatever the case may be, or a brand, just like as you said, make sure you go through the process properly to get the ones that you like. And you know what? They could be in your bag for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. I mean, we're seeing PJ Tour players, Amex this week. A friend, Ryan Brath, for golf.com, he was down at the Amex and he captured 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old irons in the bag of some tour players. So you know what, if they're sticking with it for quite some time, potentially you could be as well.
No, no question. Now, you know what else? Other clubs I've been hearing a little bit more about as well is Cobra's new Dark Speed.
Yeah.
And the thing with the Dark Speed line is that Cobra has kind of taken a different angle to what they're focusing in on, and they're focusing their attention more in on speed.
Yeah.
As opposed to zeroing in on the forgiveness factor. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not forgiving. Believe me,
No,
that
no.
this stuff, all this new stuff is very forgiving, but their attention is more focused on generating more speed, which obviously we know that clubhead speed, does relate somewhat directly to distance,
Of
and
course.
and with irons particularly, it will help with ball flight or height.
Yep.
But it's interesting. That's the other one that I think I've been hearing a little bit more about as well, is that people are like, this new dark speed, what's this all about?
Yeah. Really clean look, kind of stealthy looking when you look down at it. Obviously all black, kind of has that, sexy appeal that way. But yeah, it was very interesting with TaylorMades and Pings and Cleveland's and PXG. A lot of these companies focusing on high MOI as much as possible. It was very interesting that Cobra didn't kind of take that approach. Sort of realize that maybe it is pretty forgiving already. So from a marketing perspective, they're kind of sticking with the the aerodynamics, which is a big thing for them as far as the shape of the club heads. But yeah, definitely getting some good buzz and feedback on that as well. Haven't had a chance to really spend much time with that product yet. Hoping to, but definitely you're right. It's definitely one getting a lot of questions about, and it's very interesting too to see companies on different cycles as well. A lot of people will hear when we're talking about these brands and drivers and so forth, Titleist is on a different cycle. So we're not going to see kind of their new driver probably on the tour until the end of the, till the summer, and then it'll be a kind of a fall introduction. So it's not like they've gone away. They're still, popular kind of out there, but because they just don't have a new one because they're on a different cycle. So, every manufacturer goes a different way. And that'll lead into as well, we're talking a lot about the tour, but when we talk about the average golfer, that's where Cleveland is headed.
Yeah, I know. I was going to get to that next.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zrixon is sort of their high-end tour
Yeah.
stuff or whatever. But Cleveland is really, focused in on that sort of average golfer, which I think is really, really important because, they cannot be ignored. While a lot of the average golfers are aspirational to play stuff that tour players have, that's maybe not what they need.
Well, and the thing with Cleveland too is this for years and years and years and years before we got to where Cleveland is now, it was all about the wedges.
Yeah, for sure.
And then even the irons that Cleveland came out with back in the day, they were like the wedges. They were forged. I remember, I think I had a set of the Cleveland irons.
Yeah,
way
did
back.
you have TA3s or TA7s or
I
something?
had, they were they were
then?
cavity back forged irons, small head. Don't even know why I ever played them. I couldn't hit the things to save my life, but I wanted them because they looked good.
Maybe you had the 588, the P's.
Yes.
Is that it? The 588
yes.
This was
back in the GC days, eh? Like this
yeah.
This was after, I think this was after my Lynx Parallax irons. Yeah, I know. I had the Parallaxes.
I just did a deep dive the other night into my basement, which we'll probably go through a bunch of stuff the other day, but I had one of my students over and we were talking about irons. He's got a new set of irons or whatever, and we started talking about older stuff or whatever, and I started bringing up a whole bunch of blades and stuff, and man, he started talking about 2-irons and hard to hit, and I'm like, ooh, I'll bring you a 2-iron. So I brought him a bunch of long irons from years past, from the 70s onward, and he was like, holy moly, how did you guys even play with some of this stuff? So but it shows those golfers want more forgiveness, and what Cleveland has done, as you are about to allude to, is the fact that they've transitioned, especially in those irons. They've got irons now that are more about forgiveness, and they are more suited to that everyday common golfer. And in the end, we want to play better. It's not about just looking good and looking like a tour player. We need to perform well, and I think that's where they've sort of they've jumped in with their irons, and they've done that with the woods as well. The Launcher
Mm-hmm.
XL2, the Halo XL, and their fairways and their hybrids. I mean, they've done some stuff there that's just all about forgiveness and reasonable pricing as well.
Yep.
A little bit less than what you'll see on the top end, but you know certainly should not be ignored. And those CBX4 wedges, it's a cavity back wedge that they've come out with.
Yeah.
Again, it's got a suitable factor to what the needs of more the average player. It's got a little bit of a wider sole. The cavity gives it a little bit more stability, so strikes, you don't end up being as punished as much. Don't be shy about trying out different things. Don't have your mindset when you're heading to the shop and going, I need to play this. Try everything out. You might be shocked at what really helps you, and if it helps you, don't be shy about putting it in the bag.
Well, isn't it
Don't be
ultimately
embarrassed.
the goal that we set by having new equipment and taking lessons and so on and so forth is that we're trying to get better. We're trying to bring our scores down. Very few people go out and play golf and just play for the fun of playing and don't care what they shoot. Most people at some point or another during an 18-hole or a 9-hole round of golf are going to care about what they're shooting. Even if they, I mean, I do it. I tell, playing with my son Brandon or playing with anybody saying, I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try to thread it through that hole. Yes, I am. I'm going to try to thread it through that hole. But when I'm just playing, like at some point or another during that round of golf, I'm going to care about how I hit it. I'm going to care about whether I made par or made bogey.
Yeah.
I may not care, by the way, the launch angle of my club after I hit the shot, but as far as how far it flies, the club that is, but I'm going to care at some point about how I'm striking the ball and if I'm driving it straight and in play and stuff. So that's the focus that you have to be. Do you not think that a PGA Tour player, if they're out there trying to make money, that if they thought that they could hit the ball straighter and control the ball flight better
it goes in the bag
with a game improvement driver or iron, that it's not going to be in the bag? This millions of dollars are on the line. They don't care about the fact that, oh, well, I'm a PGA Tour player. I should be using forged blades from 1965.
Yeah, great example last week. Will Zalatoris, great ball striker, obviously
Love that
now
guy.
back on the tour after being injured. He had a T350 3-iron, which, if people are not familiar, if you look at the Titleist line of irons, it is the largest, chunkiest internal cavity back iron in their whole line, which I had a guy say to me at one point, oh, those clubs are just for chops. Well, guess what? Will Zalatoris had a 3-iron in his bag this past week.
And he ain't no chop.
And he ain't no chop at the Sony Open. I mean, it's more fun when you go out there and see golf balls that launch in the air. I mean, why punish yourself?
Oh.
And I know for myself, I've told a number of people, especially if you look at the Cleveland, they've got some irons that are obviously, those Halo XL irons, which are, wide sole. And I mean, I've got an older version of one of their ones. I've got a 7-iron that I had from a sample years ago, that I keep around, and I get people to hit that and they're like, wow, they're impressed when they launch it. And it doesn't look very traditional. It looks more of a hybrid-y type iron, but why punish yourself? You may as well have clubs that are easy to hit and you're going to enjoy yourself. Even if your score doesn't go down, if you hit more quality shots that you see go in the air and you have some level of success, you're probably going to score better. But you're also not going to leave frustrated going, man, I watched all my shots dribble along the ground all day long.
But I got looking clubs.
But I look good. Yeah.
Look at me. I'm awesome. I suck, but I'm awesome.
Exactly. And we should mention too, I mean, at the bottom of our notes here, I just did a story on the top 5 used drivers you should buy now. Because so much new stuff is coming out all the time, there's a lot of good used stuff that's out there. And, one product, for an example, we didn't mention it, but, Ping has obviously got the G430 Max 10K, right? Which is a new version, higher MOI or whatever. If you go back and look at their G400 Max that they had out several years ago, as far as total MOI, it was around 9,900. So it's not that far off of there. I'm not saying there's different characteristics that might, you might want the G430 Max 10K versus the G400 if you can find one, but you can find the G400, for half the price of what the driver that's out there now. And, a few years ago, you would have been running to the store because it was the latest and the greatest, right? But a few years later, I guarantee you it's still the same driver.
Yeah,
So, you know,
yeah, for
it still
sure.
performs well. So, you know, look into that. I've got like I said, I've got 5 that I pointed out that, you know, you could go and buy for as little as $200 that are out there. So just don't think if you're, and I think that's a mistake a lot of new golfers get into. They go into the store and they all of a sudden they get overwhelmed and they're like, man, you know, it's going to be $7,000 before I get out of here with the full stuff. But you know, there's ways to get into the game and play that you don't have to always have, you know, the latest and greatest.
Yeah, and do yourself a favor when you're talking about that used driver market, particularly. Um, you know, check out some of those used, like Kijiji and places like that, and I guess even Facebook Marketplace. You know, when you're looking for a used driver, keep in mind you're buying a used driver. Nobody's going to fit it for you.
True.
So even
That
if you
is the
like the
downside.
head,
Right.
you
Yeah.
might have to then take it, go somewhere, and make
True.
sure that
Very
it
true.
fits you properly. And then it might cost you a few more bucks, you
Yeah.
know, to replace the shaft. It might still be cheaper, but that's my suggestion there is like don't run right to the retailer to buy from their used rack, because
Mm-hmm.
chances are they're going to be a lot more expensive on their used rack and they're still not fit for you. And they're
Right.
not gonna they'll fit you, but they're not gonna make alterations to the changing the shaft and stuff included in the price. So
Yeah.
you're
Generally
still gonna
not.
end up having to pay for. So if you particularly like a, you know, a Ping G 420 driver or a 425 or a 410 or whatever, if you particularly
Yeah.
like that club and you think you're gonna save a couple $100 by getting a used one, just make sure you know what you're buying, that you
Mm-hmm.
may not be
Yeah.
buying
For sure.
something that has the right shaft, and you might be looking at another $100 or
Yeah.
$150 on top of that to have
Yeah.
the shaft and grip changed over for you to make sure that it fits you properly. So just be aware of that.
Yeah.
You know, but it can still be less expensive and still highly, highly, highly effective for you.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny all the time because people will ask, "Oh, is this club better for me?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I'm not fitting you. You have to go get fitted." It's
Mm-hmm.
not a case of, "Oh, we'll get this club and automatically it's going to be better." That's not
Mm-hmm.
really the case. You can get the most expensive club in the world, but if it's not fitted properly, and I guarantee you, I've been through fittings before
Yep.
where where it's like, "Ooh, that's not usable." And don't always be looking, and especially when we're talking about the driver market, don't always be looking at the driver that just gives you that one time that you get that, you know, that bullet ball that goes the long way. You have to play it on a consistent
Yep.
basis. And you know, it's I can take any club and all of a sudden dump a lot of loft off it and get a high speed out of it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not going to be very effective to go out there and play. You want
No.
something that's very well balanced, easy to play. When I say well balanced, as far as the characteristics of distance and accuracy, so that you can play it over time, you know, that you can carry it, launch it in the air. But again, it all just comes back to fitting. So yeah. But
That
anyways,
it
more
does.
news to come.
Yeah.
Lots more equipment news to come. Keep an eye on flagstick.com and all our social media channels where we're obviously pumping out content all the time. And feel free to ask questions if you've got
Yeah.
specific ones. You know, hashtag ask flagstick on any of our social media channels, and I'll get to your question.
It as we like to say around this time of the year, it tis the season.
Tis
But not to be jolly. Tis the season to
to
talk new golf equipment.
Yeah, and people like to talk new golf equipment. I do
Sure they
too.
do.
You know, I would say that, you know, doing a lot of indoor lessons this time of year, I would say almost every single lesson starts with a conversation about some of the new equipment that's out right now. Just
Oh yeah.
curiosity more than anything. And, you know, golfers are just wired that way. As we always say, and we've said it a million times, you know, you don't buy golf equipment, you buy hope. So that's what everybody's looking
So
for.
there's
They're
a lot
looking
of people with a lot of hope, is what you're saying.
There is. They're all and it doesn't matter where you are. I mean, obviously, we see Brooke Henderson with a new putter in her
Yeah,
bag. She's looking for some hope, just like anyone else. And you see
that's
lots of tour
right.
players doing it, and nobody's, you know, they're all seeking the same thing, just trying to get better through new equipment.
And there you have it. Great first episode of 2024. Glad we could finally get
Back,
to
yeah.
producing something for everybody. I know we've had a lot of requests, a lot of interest over the last few weeks as to when the next episode's coming out. So now you know the next episode is out.
maybe one last mention while we get
Yes.
to it. We
Oh,
have
oh
actually,
gosh, I
we
almost
know.
forgot.
I know what. Well, I'll let you get to it.
Are we talking about? We're talking about the Open. Is that what we're?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so here's the deal, people. The registration for the Flagstick Open, for the 2024 Flagstick Open at Equinel, is officially open for everybody starting on Monday,
Yeah.
January the.
Don't even know the date.
Oh my God. Tell me.
20th, 21st, 22nd.
22nd.
Yeah.
January 22nd. Registration has been open for a little bit now for past last year's participants. That was one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we did this year was make sure that anybody that played last year had first crack at getting into it this year. So they have had a little bit of a head start, and the field is filling up extremely quick, as we expected it would.
We got
but
2/3 of the field probably full already. But as we always say, get in there and get on the waiting list if you can't get a spot automatically. I mean, we always have
it happens every year. The waiting list, we'll go pretty deep into the waiting list, within a week or two of the tournament. So if you want to participate in the Flagstick Open at Equinel this year, I strongly encourage you to visit flagstick.com, select the Flagstick Open from the drop-down menu, or just go to flagstickopen.com, and you'll see the registration on the left-hand side there, and you can get yourself into the field ASAP.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, we have the Flagstick Shootout.
Yes, the Flagstick Shootout will be in
the summer as well.
Yeah, in midsummer at Smuggler's Glen. This will be the second year of its return, and as we expect that to field, it's a smaller field, limited field event, so we do expect that one to fill up rather quickly as well. So there you go. Flagstick Open registration is now open to everybody, beginning on Monday. So just go to flagstickopen.com and you can get yourself signed up.
You got it.
So there you go. Great show, my friend. Great
way to get started.
Number one edition of 2024.
Show 67. New year, new gear.
We're gonna hit 100 this year, eh?
We are.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Who knows? Maybe we'll be recording it live someplace. Maybe
that'd be awesome. Wouldn't that be cool?
Maybe on a road trip someplace.
Oh. Okay. Well,
we'll get to that. All
right. Thanks to all our sponsors, Metcalf Golf Club, Celtic Golf Center, and our presenting sponsor this week, Golf PEI. Golf Prince Edward Island's premier Canadian golf destination, boasting the most number of courses per capita in the country, with over 400 fairways closer than you can imagine, top-tiered accommodations, and exquisite culinary experiences. The easiest golf vacation you will ever book. Book those vacations and tee times at golfpei.ca. Well, we really do hope that you are continuing to enjoy what you're hearing and watching here on the Flagstick Podcast. Be sure to follow us across all the social media networks, Instagram, X, Facebook. Subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. And do not forget our YouTube channel. We do encourage you to get over there, especially right now. Lots of great stuff is being published to our YouTube channel. So like us, click the notification bell, make sure that you never miss a single episode or anything we put there. Get over to flagstick.com for more amazing golf content delivered every day. Sign up for the Flagstick Digest newsletter to make sure that you get this content delivered directly to your inbox 3 times a week. As always, we do appreciate you tuning in, but until next week, I am Jeff Botter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
And always remember, go for the stick.